Hello, today we're going to talk about a really hot topic at the moment, that's Xinjiang and its cotton. So to start with, at the beginning of this week, on the 22nd of March, the EU, the US and I believe Canada imposed sanctions on a number of Chinese officials over alleged abuses of the Uyghur people in the Xinjiang region of China. It is interesting to note that although they're part of the Five Eyes, Australia and New Zealand didn't impose any sanctions, but did welcome the sanctions that were levied by the US, Europe and Canada. So there are two organisations involved in this cotton issue with Xinjiang, and both those organisations claim to be independent, but I don't believe they are independent. So the first one is the Newlines Institute, who wrote a report about forced labour in the cotton industry. And that report was written by Adrian Zenz, and Adrian Zenz seems to be held as a Xinjiang expert by Western media, although nothing he's ever produced has ever been peer reviewed. And he's only ever visited Xinjiang some years ago for a very short period of time, I believe 2 or 3 weeks on holiday. Then the other organisation involved, BCI, the Better Cotton Initiative. Again, they claim to be independent, but after doing a bit of digging, you can see from this annual report or from their website that they are actually get some of their funding from USAID. And if you then go on to USAID and have a look through what they're about, they say there is an independent federal government agency headquartered in Washington, D.C., receives overall foreign policy guidance from the Secretary of State, is the US government's lead international development and humanitarian assistance agency, and an essential component of US foreign policy and national security. Now, I'm not suggesting anything here, but it could very much be that the US government, through USAID, have had some influence over the decision of BCI to withdraw the licenses for Xinjiang cotton producers. So how does BCI fit into all this? Well, BCI, the organisation that issues licenses for cotton growers. And if the cotton growers don't have the license, then the manufacturers won't buy cotton from that source. So what actually happened is BCI stopped issuing licenses to companies in Xinjiang, and therefore manufacturers stopped buying from producers in Xinjiang. And also the US put a total ban on any cotton imports from Xinjiang. So due to what BCI put on their website, many retailers, including names like H&M and Nike, issued statements on their website saying that they either didn't or they wouldn't use Xinjiang cotton because they were concerned about these human rights abuses against Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region. And this was picked up by Chinese consumers and quickly spread like wildfire on Chinese social media, and a number of celebrities and that who had been working for some of these brands decided to end their contracts, and a lot of Chinese consumers said they wouldn't buy any more from these brands. And what I think is really a bit crazy about this, these companies issue statements seemingly just off what they read from the BCI. So due to the statements of BCI, a number of apparel and clothing retailers decided to put statements on their website stating they would not or they do not buy cotton from the Xinjiang region. And this caused a backlash with Chinese consumers who started to boycott those brands, stopped buying merchandise from them. In fact, H&M was delisted from a number of e-commerce sites in China, and also Nike has been affected by this, as well as other brands. And I think they were a bit unwise to put these statements on their websites based on the information off BCI. I think what would have been a more sensible move if they'd have actually done their own audits and their own due diligence and actually audited the factories that they used to make sure that this practice wasn't happening. And a retailer who was very smart and actually did this was Skechers. And we can now have a look and see what Skechers have said on their website. So here you can see the statement from Skechers. Now Skechers mention a report that was published by ASPI. Now ASPI are the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. They're also claimed to be independent, but they're not. They receive funding from the US industrial military complex from companies like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, weapons manufacturers. And Skechers were concerned about the report because it was talking about the forced labour of Uyghurs. And interestingly, if you read the report, and I'll just highlight these parts, Skechers promptly contacted senior management at Luzhou. And Luzhou confirmed that members of the Uyghur ethnic minority comprise a portion of its workforce, but they are employed on the same terms and conditions as all other factory employees, and in particular with respect to working conditions, pay, promotions, etc. It was also confirmed that all workers, including those from the Uyghur ethnic minority, are free to leave if they no longer wanted to work at Luzhou. They then went on to say, Skechers has conducted 2 additional audits of Luzhou, including an unannounced audit in June 2020, specifically directed to investigating the ASPI allegations, and another audit in November 2020. Neither of these audits revealed any indications of the use of forced labour, either of Uyghurs or any other ethnic religions or groups. Nor did the audits raise any other concerns about general labour conditions. So personally, I think what Skechers did was a very smart move. Instead of relying on information from other sources, they went and checked for themselves to see what was happening. And as it says, they found no instances of any problems. Interestingly, today, the 26th of March, the BCI Shanghai office, they've also come out and made a statement saying in the last 8 years they've also found no incidents of forced labour in the Xinjiang cotton industry. I also think it will be a great opportunity for some Chinese clothing companies to have a campaign saying that our garments are proudly made from Xinjiang cotton. So I hope that gives you a bit more of an overview and an insight into this cotton situation in Xinjiang and why it's happened and what's happened. If anything new comes to light, my opinion might change, but right now that is my opinion on it.